So I actually wanted to start off by talking politics with you in terms of presidents you've spent time with over the years. Tell, if you don't mind, about the first letter you received from Dwight Eisenhower, then president.
Well, he invited me to play golf with him at Augusta, and of course that was quite a thrill, and I accepted very readily.
How did he invite you?
Well, he said, "Would you like to play a round of golf at Augusta?" And I responded with, "Absolutely, whenever you say." And he said very soon thereafter, and I went to Augusta and we played.
What was that like?
Well, it was great. Of course, I had been around presidents before, but not quite like Ike, and with all the Secret Service men and everybody there. It was quite a thrill. And he is so great a man that he made you feel pretty proud just to be with him and talk to him, and that was fun.
You wrote in your autobiography that your relationship with him, quote, eclipsed any relationship I'd ever had with an older man besides my father. How so?
Well, he was just a great guy to know and to talk to, and he made you feel great. He made me feel very proud that I knew him and that I was able to talk to him the way I did. And of course, the only guy that I really ever talked quite like I talked to the president was my father.
What sorts of discussions would the two of you had?
Oh, it ranged from everything to you name it, from golf to personal relationships, to how I felt about the world, if you're referring to Ike, and mostly golf business. And he wanted to know as much as you'd tell him about the golf game, and I did. I told him things that I really probably never told anybody else.
What did he want to know?
Oh, he wanted to know everything I thought when I was playing, how I approached the game, how I approached people that were associated with the game, and things that most people wouldn't even think about asking.
What do you recall from your 37th birthday surprise?
Well, that was very special. I was going to Laurel Valley that day to play a round of golf with some of the members, and I was on my way out the door, and my wife was sort of holding me up, and I couldn't figure out why she was holding me up, and I said, "Winnie, I've got to go. I got a great golf game this afternoon." And, well, she says, "Don't rush, just wait a minute." And she was delaying me for a purpose. And the purpose was that she knew what I didn't know, and that was that President Eisenhower was flying in on my airplane to greet me for my birthday and spend the day with me at Laurel and around the house, and just doing things that men do. And finally I just said, "I gotta go." And about that time there was a knock on the door, and I said, "I'll get it on the way out." And when I got to the door, it was a screen door, and there standing in a leather flight jacket was the president, and he was he looked great, and his first remark was, "You suppose you could put an old man up for the weekend?" and of course that thrilled me to death, and I said, "Naturally, come on in." And he came in, and then we started talking about what we were going to do.
What do you remember from speaking to Congress on what would have been his 100th birthday?
Well, I was pretty nervous about it, and I was thrilled also. And what I did was just talk about Ike and my association with him, and the things that I remember that he said and did that were so just absolutely fantastic. Things about his life, and not too much personal stuff, but more what he was doing, how he conducted his life, and everything that he said was, I just hung on like I couldn't hear enough, and I felt great about it too, and so I talked about all the things that we talked about, whether it was eating food or playing golf or the clubs we used to play golf, and so on for a long time.
President Richard Nixon once invited you and Bob Hope to his San Clemente home, where he had his team of senior advisors gathered, advisor Henry Kissinger, Vice President Gerald Ford, other national security folks. What was discussed there?
Well, it was sort of a summit meeting, you might call it, with those people, and it was concerning the war that was going on, and how to conclude it as quickly as possible with the least loss that we could suffer, and that was what we discussed. My recommendation was some of the low altitude bombings and things like that, and we talked about everything in the war, how to save lives, how to get the war over with, and come home.
How surprised at the time were you to be invited to participate in that?
Well, I was too, but they knew that I was a pilot, and I enjoyed fighter airplanes and fighter aircraft, and that I did fly a lot. So that was part of the reason, I assume.
President Gerald Ford, on his outgoing day in office, what did he do?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Didn't he meet you for a round of golf?
Oh, the last day he was in office.
The last day he was in office, right?
Yes, the day that he became just a U.S. citizen from president was the final, or the first day of the golf tournament, and he was my partner. And he was a little late. He showed up in the late, and we went on and played from there.
And I know you've played golf with President George H.W. Bush on many occasions. You spent time with Presidents Clinton and even Obama before. How about your most memorable state dinner?
Most memorable state dinner? Oh my, I'm not sure I can remember them all. There were numerous heads of state that I went to the dinners at the White House at the request of the president, because his guest had requested that I be there, and so I was thrilled with that, and I went and took my wife, and she was thrilled, and it was a great experience.
You worked with the late Mark McCormack for many years, the legendary agent who kind of, in a sense, pioneered the industry, and first obviously the two of you working together, and then his creation of the global sports and entertainment management firm, IMG. What do you think made the relationship the two of you had so successful?
Well, I can only guess on part of that, but one thing, when we made our deal, I just said to Mark, wanted to do a contract, And I said, you don't need to do a contract. We'll just shake hands on what we agree on, and if there's ever a difference, we'll talk it out. And he agreed to that, so we shook hands on the deal, and it lasted until he passed.
During a time when athletes just did not have agents, that was something completely new. What made you decide to take him on as your agent?
Well, I knew him when he was at William and Mary, went to school there, and he played on the golf team, and I played on the Wake Forest golf team, and we become friends from a distance, and we talked occasionally, and that started the relationship, and then of course the fact that we were both out of school now and into our lives of business, and we're now going to be doing something that is meaningful to both of us. So we became friends and business friends, and it worked very well. He stuck with the deal that we made, and when he started to branch out, or what he thought was branching out, he had to come and see me to make sure that I would approve of what he was doing. And in the instance of Jack Nicklaus, I agreed it was okay if he represented Jack, and Gary Player, and as I recall, I think Doug Sanders was one of the guys that he was helping a little bit, and so on.
How hard was that for you to all of a sudden feel like you had to share your agent with other people?
Well, it was something that was my personal thing, and it was what I wanted to do with my business life. Up until then, my wife, Winnie, was doing most of the work, the sideline work in the office right here. And she was doing fine, so I was in no hurry to hire Mark. Not that he wasn't a good guy or it wasn't a good deal, and certainly there were things that he could do that she couldn't do. But I was reasonably happy, and finally I consented to let him do it, and it was all right. It was, and he was a good guy. I liked him, and he was very smart and very efficient. So it worked out pretty well.
Tell about the conversation the two of you had at the Plaza Hotel bar.
Oh, he was talking about my leaving Wilson or going further with them. And he was asking me for permission to go talk to Mr. Bowman, who was president of Wilson. And finally, I agreed to that. And he went and made an appointment, and in short, he made a deal with Wilson Sporting Goods for me, and it was pretty much a lifetime deal. And he called me one day and he said, Arn, he says, I got a deal with Wilson for you. He says, you and I need to go see Judge Cooney, who is the chairman of the board, for final approval of this deal. And so we went to Chicago and met with Judge Cooney. And of course, the way I tell it to some of my friends was, I learned what a lecture really sounds like. And
what did he say?
well, he just told me that he had all the best golfers in the world, and he didn't need me. He had Sam Snead, and Gene Saracen, and Patty Berg, and, all those good golfers, and for the deal that we had worked out, it was a little beyond. He didn't think that they needed my expertise in their staff.
What are you thinking to yourself as he's saying all this to you?
About yay high, I felt I was mad at Mark, for one, for thinking that he had made a deal with Wilson for me for life. And of course, when this all came up, and it did, and it was hashed around, and that we ended up walking out with nothing.
How was it, though, almost a blessing in disguise?
Well, of course, I've often wondered that question myself.
You have.
I often wondered what it would have been like had I stayed with that deal if it had worked. But they turned it down. They didn't want it. And everything I had won up until then was with Wilson equipment. I won the golf balls, the clubs, bags, everything. And I now had nothing. I had to start over. I was angry. And I say angry because they had made Mark think he had a deal. Mm-hmm. He didn't, and I didn't, and we were starting over. I didn't mind. I really did not mind. I thought that there would be certain curtailment in the deal with Wilson and myself, that maybe I wanted to do more, wanted to go further into the world of sports. But that ended it right there. It ended everything. And of course, immediately upon leaving, we started negotiating to make new deals.
Well, and it freed you up to be able to do so many other deals, which
Right.
ultimately
Absolutely.
led to all the sponsorship success you've since been able to have.
That's right.
Explain how you now have one of the hottest selling brands of teenage girls' clothing in Japan.
Well, that's good news.
It's great news, surprising news.
And Asia is good for us. It's a good business. I had some good success in Asia, and Japan particularly has been good to me. Korea has been good to me, and of course that would have been Wilson Sporting Goods if I had followed through, or if they had followed through with the deal. I'm not unhappy at all, having done all these years without the association. Some of the people, however, that were with Wilson, that became good friends of mine in the years that I was with them, were hurt. And I was sorry for that, because they were good people, and they enjoyed what they did, and they went on to do the thing that they were doing. But it was a hurtful thing to me, and knowing what I know now, that the judge was wrong by his decision, was not very nice, but didn't bother me too much.
And you now have hundreds of Arnold Palmer, stores internationally selling your clothing and apparel. How do you go about deciding what business ventures to get involved in?
Generally, it was things that I used, one way or another, and that was the decision that I usually made. If I didn't use it, or if I didn't like it, I didn't make a deal. I didn't give them a chance to say, no, you're not following the rules. And so I just really followed all the rules of the business deal. And it wasn't bad. It was pretty good actually, and has been pretty good. And really, it's just living up to yourself, making yourself honest, and feel like you were doing the right thing.
I want to talk to you about some notable moments from your career. The latter two moments I'm going to mention being a couple of the biggest highlights. The first one perhaps being one of the lower points, and that being the 1966 U.S. Open. You lose a 6-shot lead, 6 holes to go. Explain what you're thinking walking up the 18th fairway.
Well, let me correct you a little there.
Okay.
On 6 shots. It was actually 7.
7.
But that was with 9 holes to play, and I hit a few bad shots, not knowing anything about what was happening the other way, and I missed a couple putts, made some mistakes, but under normal conditions, you know, who's going to shoot the kind of golf that Bill Casper shot in that last 9 holes? That was exceptional, good golf, and some great putting and great playing to tie me. And I missed a little putt at 17. I remember about a 3 or 4 footer, and right straight uphill, and I was mad at myself for that, because at the time I thought, well, that might be the Open right there. But it didn't happen to be. We tied, and of course then I lost in the playoff again. But it was hard on me for a while. It was one of the biggest defeats of my life, and it was the National Open. It was something that was very, very important. But those things happened. I lost some others, not similar, but I lost some other tournaments and some other playoffs, and yeah, I suffered. But overall, I felt that I was very fortunate. I was very lucky to be where I was, to win what I did, and to say that I had lost the Open, I did. And I played poorly in the 9 holes after having played very well during the tournament, and there was nothing I could do about it. And I said, well, as my father always said, just grin and get on and get to the next tournament.
What was the toughest part of handling kind of the aftermath of the loss?
Well, most of the people that were my friends, they didn't change them. They were still my friends, and I was thankful for that. And it encouraged me to go on and play some more golf and play better golf, which I did, and I won after that. So it wasn't the end of the world. It felt like it for a while, but it wasn't the end of the world. And as I went on and won some more tournaments and had a pretty good career, I was thankful.
The National Amateur Championship, when you won that, what did your dad say to you afterwards?
Nice going, boy. That's all he said.
But that, in a way, wasn't that the first time he complimented you?
My father was very tough. He was never one for throwing out rewards or congratulations. And when he said, nice going, boy, I knew what it meant, and I felt it, and I was grateful.
Your longtime assistant, Doc Giffen, was quoted as saying, without winning that, you may not have had the confidence to turn pro. To what extent would you agree?
Well, I called it the turning point. And it was the turning point in a way. It gave me the confidence that I needed to go ahead, turn pro, and get on the tour and play. And of course, with the contract that I had with Wilson, which goes back a few years, it was pretty restricted because I wasn't getting a lot of money. I was getting enough to survive, and I was able to play. And for 6 months, I couldn't get any money other than what was not PGA events. So what I won was pro-ams and events that were not PGA specified events. And I managed, and then I ran into a man by the name of Spencer Olin, chairman of Olin Matheson Chemical Company out of St. Louis, and I played with him in the Greenbrier tournament, and it was a pro-am, and we did pretty well. And he shared his winnings with me, which was strictly amateur, and I made some money, and I felt like I was now ready to go.
And people may forget the money you could make playing on the PGA Tour back then when you were first starting out. It's unlike anything the players are making today. I mean, you're driving from tournament to tournament with a trailer on your car, staying in motels, just literally trying to make ends meet. What do you recall from driving up Magnolia Lane into Augusta National for the first time?
Well, it was, of course, the greatest thrill of my life, going to Augusta to play in the Masters. And of course, I remember Magnolia Lane very well, with the trees and all the things that happened. And then getting on the golf course and seeing the golf course. And I remember Ed Dudley was the pro at the time at Augusta, and it was a thrill seeing him. And just being at Augusta made me feel like I'd made some accomplishment.
Bobby Jones, Ben Hogan, Sam Snead, Byron Nelson. As a young guy, when you get there and not only see them, but see them all chatting with each other, what's that like?
It's a thrill. You know, I was raised the son of a golf pro, as you know, and we used to talk about these people that you just mentioned. And I read Byron Nelson's book, and I read some of Sarrazin, and I read Jones, and I remember things that happened to them in their golfing prowess, and I was thrilled. And then to know them, see them, play with them, eat with them was the greatest thrill of my life.
Why did it bother you that Ben Hogan never called you by your real name?
Well, that's funny because it did bother me. And I wasn't ever quite sure why he didn't, but till the day he passed, I never remember him calling my name out and pronouncing my name, Arnold or Palmer, or it was hey you or something like that all the time. And I objected to it, but there was nothing I could do about it.
What was your reaction when you overheard him at the Masters questioning how the heck you got there?
Well, geez, I didn't know you knew that, but he was with my friend, Jackie Burke, and he said his exact remarks were, how in the hell did he get in the Masters? And of course, when I won the Masters, I personally had a little personal satisfaction from that. But as it turned out, Uh, Hogan and I became friends. I never held a bitterness or anything against him. Uh, uh, I thought he was a great talent, a great player. He proved he was a great player. Uh, and I accepted that and accepted him. He did his thing, I did mine.
How would you describe the emotion of winning your first Masters?
Well, you can't put it into words. It was a thrill. I was so pleased to just be there and be playing at Augusta. And then when I won and had the good fortune to win the second time, it was probably the biggest thrill of my life.
Jack Nicklaus, I believe you remember putting the green jacket on him when he won his first Masters, and then him turning and giving his winning ball to Bobby Jones. What about that made it so emotional?
Well, of course, Jack and I were friends. We were friends from the beginning, from the day he turned pro. And that friendship has lasted through all these years, and I'm very pleased and proud to say that I'm a friend of Jack's, and he's a friend of mine, and that we've gotten along as well as we have. That doesn't make us uncompetitive. When we play against each other, we play as hard as we can play, and we have all our lives. And he's beaten me, and I've beaten him, and that's what makes the game of golf so great, and what will always make it great. And the fact that Jack and I are still friends. His father was my friend, and I feel some indebtedness to his father, and the fact that he was a great guy, and that he was a friend of mine, and Jack's a friend, Barb's a friend. The family are all friends, and I'm pleased and proud of that.
Whether it be in the business world or on the golf course, what about the rivalry did you find motivating?
Just the fact that he was so good, that he was a great player, and he had a knack for playing the game of golf, and played it very, very well. And the fact that once in a while I beat him, that was something that I was very proud of.
How do you think you guys most differ?
Differ?
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm not sure I can even explain that. We're similar in a lot of ways, but we are competitive in every way. That our lives are competitive, and the fact that he was my opponent didn't make any difference as far as our relationship was concerned. I wanted to beat him as bad as I could beat him every time I ever played him, and vice versa. And he'll tell you that. But it didn't affect the fact that we went out and went in a bar room and had a beer, or occasionally I said, Jack, you got the ball too far forward in your stance. Move it back a little bit. You'll hit that driver better. And he did, and that was the problem. It wasn't, so we helped each other, and that was part of our friendship.
It was 6 years between your first major win and your last major win, 24 years between Jack's first and last. You've obviously had far more business success than he has, since playing. But I was speaking to somebody close to you the other day who said deep down you would probably think that Jack put more time into his playing game than you did. How true do you think that is?
Well, I think he practiced a lot, but I don't think he practiced more than I
Okay.
did. I don't think that's just a figment of your imagination or someone's imagination, because I practiced a lot, and the first year I was on the tour, those hands were raw from practicing and playing, and both shoulders were sore from the bones, and I had to have cortisone shots. And so all of the above is just a question of what really happened. And Jack, I think, had some problems the same way, and as I did. But the fact is that that's the game of golf, and the fact that I can say if I needed some help, I could go to Nicklaus.
How much did it mean to you, his speech on that Congressional medal ceremony day when you were being honored?
I can't tell you how proud I am to be an American, and how proud I am of the medals that I won from the presidents of the United States, and the Congressional medal, the things that are things that you shove away and just say, I'm thankful for the fact that I was fortunate enough to win them.
What about it touches you?
Well, the fact that Congress and the United States and the people have endorsed an athlete to receive these medals is something beyond belief, and I am extremely proud to have been there, done that, as President Eisenhower, knowing him, being with him, having him call me his friend. How can you say how much it means?
The funeral of your late wife, Winnie, conflicted on the final day of tour qualifying school for Jack's son. Jack had been, at all days of the tour qualifying school, but him and his wife obviously skipped the final day of tour qualifying school, fly out to the funeral, and afterwards, you and Jack are sitting in front of a television watching his son on TV, who ultimately ends up, qualifying for the tour. The two of you have your arms around each other in tears. How would you describe the emotion of that?
Well, it's like my grandson is on the tour now, and he misses from time to time, and I see Jack rooting for him, and it's the same as my rooting for Gary or Jack or any of the Nicklauses. It's something, you wish them well, you want to see them succeed, and you want to be proud of that, and I think that rooting for them means a lot more than anything you can do.
I want to take you back briefly to when you were younger and growing up. You mentioned a little earlier about your father. How would you describe what he was like?
Well, he was a tough, hard-working golf pro, and he learned both ends of the business the hard way, by experience and by personal work and fun, and he was tough. He never let up. He stayed tough all his life, and as a matter of fact, I think about it, he died a tough guy. He played 27 holes of golf the day he passed, and he was tough.
What do you think you most learned from him?
Oh, he was honest, and he was probably as honest as I've ever seen anyone. He said it the way it was. He did it the way it was. He helped everybody he could. He contributed. Probably the toughest guy that he dealt with was his son. And
What did he teach you about manners?
well, you don't have time for me to tell you all of that, but he was great on manners. I see people in my life, and I think about my father teaching me to pick up a fork and a knife or a spoon and eat. And they're too bad they weren't children for my father, because he would have taught them how.
Why did your father say you were his worst hire ever to run the golf pro shop?
Well, he picked on me. As I said, his son. He was tough on me. He never backed off. He played tough, worked hard, and died hard.
Tell about the paint representative bill that you were introduced to, and how your agreement with him, really helped your burgeoning golf career.
I was a paint salesman.
Okay.
And it looked like if I could make a deal, I might have never turned pro. And I might have sold paint the rest of my life. But I didn't get it, so I became I immediately after that turned pro and went to play in the golf tour. And that was the best thing I ever did.
Between growing up in the Depression, having, not a lot of money when you were younger, and even those early tour days when, funds were scarce, what did that teach you about savings?
Well, of course, in my family, my father and our family had no money most of our early lives. We would come out and hunt rabbits and pheasants and take them home, and my mother would soak them in salt water overnight, and we'd eat them the next day, and that was great stuff. But that was part of all of the education. And my father, when he bought groceries, if he didn't have enough money to pay for it, I remember him scraping up enough money to go pay the bill, and he did. And he sacrificed the things that he liked to pay the bills for groceries that we ate. And that was his life. That was the way he lived in the early days. And of course, he told me how he appreciated the fact that he was lucky enough to be a golf pro and to be able to make a living doing what he was doing.
How did that rub off on you in terms of savings when you got older?
Well, of course, the golf professionals and the PGA, the Superintendents Association, those organizations and those people are all a part of my life. I grew up with them. I'm still with them. And whenever I can see an opportunity to help the golf game, help the golf professional, or the greenkeeper, I take it and do it.
In your opinion, what does it take for a person to truly be great at something?
To truly be great?
Uh-huh.
Well, if you're talking about performing as an athlete or as a golf professional, honesty is number one. Just being straight with yourself, with your friends, being a good guy. And if you can do that and work hard, it'll work out. It'll work out.
What do you think's responsible for your success?
My father.
Because of everything he taught you?
Absolutely.
You've said before that you were motivated more by the fear of losing than the thrill of winning. How so?
Well, I used to think that if I played and got beat, it would embarrass me. And I found out that if you played and gave all you could give to win and to be a good guy, it would work out. And it has for me. I'm very pleased, thankful. I'm thankful for being a golf pro and thankful for having my family, my daughters and my wife. Those things are things that I will never stop being thankful for.
Starting in the, I believe, mid-1960s, you wrote in your autobiography about how every time you would get close to winning a tournament, your hands would start shaking. Why do you think that was?
Well, of course, I always felt like my hands were the big things in my game, and if I could keep them strong and play the game with them and recall the things that have happened, I'd be thankful for that, and that's how it's worked out.
You said in key moments at times, instead of concentrating, you would start thinking about whether or not you would win. How would that affect you?
Well, I tried not to just put everything on winning. If I did the best I could and played the best I could, I would be very thankful for that.
Golf today and the media. How would you explain the difference today in players' relationships with the media versus when you first started out on the tour?
I can't. I can't explain how some players react to media. I can't really think of many people in the media that I have known since I started playing the game of golf that I haven't been a friend with. There's been some edges where they question, but I think that they have a job to do, and I try to help them as much as I can with their job, and hopefully they will help me with my job.
Why do you think, though, it's changed in the sense that it used to be, after a round of golf, you might meet your friend in the media for drinks, with kind of the group of guys. You just don't see that anymore. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I think it was just a natural thing. We were all friends. We did our thing, and I still do it. So it's something that you mentioned Doc Giffen. He knows as much as anybody in the world that my friends are media. They're everybody that I know that I can get along with and enjoy.
How do you view the PGA?
Well, I think that the PGA of America is a great organization, a great group of people. I think that there's some things that they could do that would be better than what they do, but they are making great progress, and they have made great progress through the years, and I think that will continue. So I'm pretty pleased.
What changes would you like to see made?
Well, I think professionalism, a little more, and they're doing it. They're doing it now with the operation within the organization is very, very good. And I think they're making progress that will be forever noted in the game of golf.
I know not too long ago you had, I believe, like a 4-hour dinner with Rory McIlroy. What did you guys chat about?
Oh, we talked about everything, about the game of golf, what an opportunity he has to be a great, great player. And of course, I have to say that my admiration for him is very big. And he is a good player. He'll be a good player. And I just wish him all the luck in the world.
What do you like about him?
He's a nice guy. I see Roy, I think he's got a great future. And I think he's a great personality. And I think he can set some standards for the game.
Why do you still, every week, write a letter to the winner of the tournament?
Well, I think that it's always nice to receive a letter from someone that has been there, done that, and is appreciative. The ones that I've received over the years, I am most thankful for, and I remember.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you.